to that game plan.
I agree. And thankfully, so thankfully, there is no zoo in this last series of the day. My heart can't take any more of these soul fires. Instead, we have Shaxy versus TIZS, two players from Chinese Taipei that I very much enjoy watching. TIZS more so for, like, I think it was when I was super impressed with his mage gameplay. I think we had a couple more questions about his recent appearances on stream, and of course Shaxy being one of the players who is not afraid to bring very unusual deck lists, although this week his deck list looked very much within the norm.
Yeah, I think it was actually week 2, because we saw, like, we introduced our new characters episode to episode with this GM, with Bank Yugi being seen first week, TIZS second week, and then Alan waiting until the third week before he managed to get through to the top 8 to appear on stream. But I agree. I think TIZS was playing some very, very strong Hearthstone for the most part here. Shaxy, again, is a player who kind of similarly to Tom60229, I suppose, although he hasn't obviously reached quite the same transcendent heights with the World Championship victory. I feel like he either plays very, very well, or I'm left super perplexed by the lines he's taking.
Yes, Shaxy does hit the peaks and the valleys every so often. The Rogue deck, I suppose, is the one where there's the most unusual tech card that I'm seeing, and even then, it doesn't feel completely out of place with the one of Beaming Sidekick. For Surrender's list, I would say it's even more unusual to see the Intrepid Initiates. Throughout today, we've seen tons of Titanic lackeys played just to give questing health, where I'm pretty sure people would rather not give on, so Beaming Sidekick can achieve that to some extent. I am interested to see whether it makes any big difference at all, though, because the vast majority of Shaxy's deck is very standard.
So in terms of the bans here, interestingly enough, we see... okay, so the double warrior ban is definitely to be expected here. But for Shaxy, the Demon Hunter being left behind is, I think, again, for me, why I like the inclusion in the current metagame. It's not as strong as Bomb Warrior, in my opinion, so I agree that you get rid of that first, but it fills that similar spot for me, where against Rogue, against Mage in particular, you swing face, and already because of that, I think I really like the spot that Shaxy's got himself in.
That's true. I think Demon Hunter is his trump card in this matchup. And to replace that somewhat, when we're comparing the lineups for TIZS, he has Priest instead, which this is the Highlander version. And up against Mage and Rogue, I'm honestly still on the fence as to whether I'd play the I'd rather play the Galakrond version or the Highlander version. I've just gotten used to playing the Highlander style and just trying to hit the power spikes with the mulligans, but you definitely can't underestimate the consistency of the Cabal and Wave of Apathy combo. Save that for later, though, because TIZS is starting up on his Rogue with 1-drop Edwin and Coin.
Yeah, great start for him, obviously. The interesting point there was whether you hold on to Questing, because it's obviously a good card in the matchup. You want Edwin or Questing, but do you think it's good enough to just like have one Edwin and try and go all in on that instead?
Yeah, I definitely like the idea of that. Obviously, when you have both Edwin and Questing, your resources tend to get allocated, and then the other become much more lackluster unless you have a very specific late game hand. What's interesting is the fact that Shaxy's list is not running Consume Magics nor Volpera Scoundrel, so there's actually not that many ways to deal with Edwin. There's Wand Makers, though, so you can generate them.
So clearly Shadow Step, a premium card to pick up here. It's actually just this turn 2 for TIZS. A lot of T's there. That's kind of difficult, because I would actually have heard out the reasoning for either Shadow Jeweler or Dirty Tricks or Dagger on this turn, for that matter.
Yeah, all of them. Their merits. Hanar, probably the weakest of the bunch because it could get value traded down. TIZS obviously just trying to set up a 2-turn clear over this Wand Maker, but this Manavert is essentially a cult neophyte in this situation.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. I really like the inclusion of Wand Maker for Shaxy in the Demon Hunter. It got worse since the expansion came out, I think, because in terms of the 1-mana spells that you can get, so sorry, obviously it came out this expansion, but the 1-mana spells got worse because you're less likely to hit Twin Slice specifically. It is still, however, a super powerful card for sure, because the vast majority outside of Philosophy, I think for the main part, are very powerful one-cost spells.
And while Shaxy's curved play of Kayn does look reasonably appealing here, there's the brave play of Magtheridon because he now has the Shard Shatter Mystic to follow up. However, he's facing Rogue, so this is one of the decks where they can very easily just shut off your Magtheridon by stepping the 1/3. So, all things considered, I would just look to the Kayn as my play this turn.
Yeah, I think I agree. It's so tempting to just throw down that Magtheridon here because, you know, you're thinking if they throw down a big Edwin, you just have the answer. You clear everything off. But like you say, Magtheridon is a fickle companion at best. So I think that's a turn 7 combo we're leading towards.
Hide behind yourselves. I will still find you.
Definitely worth considering with all the time Shaxy put into it. But gonna go with the safer option. And finally, Eve gets to come down.
And it's going to be so strong. Frostbolt, a premium spell to pick up in this matchup.
So nasty.
Ice Barrier, the other premium spell to pick up in specifically this matchup. Stelina, you're probably not going to outcast, but sure.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Like, those two mage spells, you're absolutely right. They're premium, but you only even need them if you're from behind. And like, TIZS has presented an Edwin where Shaxy's like, okay, I can't silence this, so my only option is to go face. In which case, TIZS has absolute nuts to shut down that plan. An attack from all fronts.
Yeah, it's just the Frostbolt, right? Like, I was going to say he could equip the weapons this turn and then go Soul Shard on 6. And just heal for 7 damage in one swing, which would buy him the time to go for Magtheridon. But it's just that Frostbolt, man. It's going to be so rough. So much damage. I suppose the real scary thing is that he struggles to clear off this board effectively on this turn, whilst also getting down those powerful mage spells in his hand.
Okay. Not often that I suggest trading Edwin, and I'm still hesitant to do so. But there is some consideration for it.
Trading with a 12-12 Edwin against Demon Hunter? I mean, you're very possibly right. Like, I can't even look at it. It makes me feel sick to my stomach.
I know. The problem is he can't threaten 2-turn lethal.
Yeah.
If he plays Ice Barrier. Well, okay, you can go Ice Barrier Neophyte, and sometimes that works out.
Okay, this is kind of smart, using the Mage Secret instead of the Rogue Secret.
Actually, this play is super cool. Even though it's still playable this turn for Shaxy, it is extremely slow if he plays it, and Shaxy will have to decide where he sends the 5 damage. Obviously, behind the Ice Barrier, Shaxy is not killing TIZS, and that potentially gives TIZS a way to attack base again with Edwin. Really cool spot.
Yeah, I think he actually tracked as well that there are no soul fragments left in the deck, so he'd have to play something else first, right, before the Lapidary can even be played, so it's even better than that.
Insane.
So Shaxy really wants to play Soul Shard on this turn, obviously, to activate the Shard Shatter Mystic for next turn.
The Sheer plus Warblade's hero power, and he's not dead on board. I would imagine the Warblade's a sent face.
Time grows short.
Don't really see why not.
Arguments for Chaos Strike. He does not set up guaranteed lethal for the next turn with that because he won't have mana to go Soul Ship expensive Lapidary.
Yeah, I was looking here on this turn if TIZS can make the read and set up a board that's too wide to allow Magtheridon to play the minions down, but I think it's just not possible, especially with the Kayn that can trade.
You still can't outcast Olina because of the secret pass.
Right, yeah, it's like the worst thing there.
But you'll be very happy to have Frostbolt to survive another turn.
Okay, okay. This is the other line. I was looking. You can go for Hanar and try and hit like Noble Sacrifice in order to protect your health as best as possible.
The thing is, he's like never dead this next turn, right? Because all of Shaxy's additional damage is coming from attacks.
You're right. Even Glavebound Adept obviously demands an attack first.
So I think he's fine leaving up the Kane. What I think should be prioritizing is a way to set up lethal if the Edwin potentially gets removed by Bacterodon.
Doesn't do it. It's a good card to generate for sure because he's afraid of any spells that can come down as well.
Well, okay. Shaxy actually lives to get to play the Magtherodon combo.
And TIZS clearly had a pretty strong read, I think, on some kind of a clear, or he would have thrown down the questing adventure on that turn as well. But yeah, there's only one line here.
Even if, like, you do give this quote-unquote combo, if it's plagiarize, TIZS doesn't have soul fragments of his own in the deck, so it can't go off.
Right, right. Good point. It's in that interaction. Kind of funny though.
Oh, big draw. But he just can't heal anymore. Best he can do is play counterspell, but Shaxy has 2 Chaos Strikes and also just a Lapidary.
And so he needs to go Shadow Jeweler, generate Noble Sacrifice, and then play Blackjack Stunner, right? Are there any other secrets he can get that could protect him? Eye for an eye!
Misdirection?
You take the draw! Oh, Misdirection can stop him from attacking entirely.
Yeah,
Okay.
Don't let the door hit you.
Yes.
Wait,
if he goes...
I don't know, maybe we're supposed to go for the draw because Misdirection is not a win, it's a delay if you assume Shaxy is going to heal up a lot with this turn.
Right.
He will, yeah.
But then, if he misdirects into anything at all, then... Oh, wait, if he misdirects into one of your minions, you might be one off lethal.
Why just one? I mean, he's going to heal up with the Eldrazi, right?
Oh yeah, of course, the heal as well.
So he's going to be quite far away from lethal. I actually think maybe Eye for an Eye was the pick there.
But he would have healed on the hit, right? How does that interaction even work? Like, if he dealt exactly 5 damage, and so he would have, or even more, like, he would have taken the lethal damage, but then healed up afterwards?
I think you still survive if that's the interaction. Don't quote me on this, but like, if you heal for armor, then you don't survive, but if you heal for actual HP, after going down to 0, I think you still survive.
I grow impatient.
I mean, it may come down to that. Eye for an Eye is still there, available on the following turn.
Oh, he does play the Lapidary! I thought he might, but... Okay, do we see the interaction? Do we see it? We're gonna see it! We're gonna see it! Yep, he's alive.
He's alive. He's alive. Okay. Yeah, you were correct. You were correct. So now, Eye for an Eye. Yep, let's generate some more stuff. Noble Sacrifice is huge. All of these are garbage.
Oh, up to no good. Me too.
It's not
No damage.
I mean, it's 1, I guess.
Counterspell, but you only have 1 mana to work with. You can still hit Noble Sac.
I don't even know if playing a Miscreant was the play there. I kind of wanted to keep chaining secrets.
He really wanted to hit Punt, right?
Yeah,
He's seen Kane. But I couldn't tell you the odds either. There's secrets that do disrupt, but maybe 2 shots at Titanic Lackey is better on average.
I mean, there's Ice Barrier, Noble Sacrifice, Misdirection. There's a few.
This game.
Oh, it's so tense. Another Eye for an Eye. So he's now tanking not necessarily lethal damage yet.
Ooh.
That, does mean he's guaranteed 5 damage, but of course there's the counterspell first.
Yup. And this militia, it's not active. It's green bordered.
Is it completely inactive? It is, right? Because he played the Soul Shear, but then played the Lapidary and the Shard Shatter.
Yeah, that doesn't summon any rushes. So
he could play Skull? If he goes for the Horde Pillager and gets Lifesteal, he can trade in.
Go up to 8. And he's not necessarily dead, but his has a whole 9 mana and a full turn to work with to try and find lethal.
But that's just lethal now, though, because he went face. Eye for an Eye activates, he heals, but he goes down to 5, and that's enough for TIZS to close out the game.
So cool. I'm over the Soulfire shenanigans. That game was sick.
I mean, it was sick, but like at the end there for Shaxy, it wasn't a guaranteed win at all. And I think because of the threat of Eye for an Eye specifically, he was supposed to trade into a minion, right? Just because he might be able to survive.
He doesn't have necessarily lethal for the next turn if he doesn't preload the damage.
He had a Skull though, right? Like it's a reasonable chance that you find it. Even if you don't outcast it, you only need a Twin Slice.
Fair. That's true. No one expects the Eye for an Eye.
Never, yeah.
I certainly didn't.
It's pretty devastating there. We even got a nice refresher course in how dying and then coming back to life works with Lifesteal in Hearthstone. Plenty to learn here in Grandmasters, and very entertaining along the way. A cool game and a nice win for TIZS there, even though I'm sure there were many ways that both players could have tried to optimize their chances. It's super scrappy, complicated games like that that truly make me love Hearthstone. So when we come back from this short break, we're going to see if TIZS can go all the way as our resident newcomer here down in Division B, sadly, alongside Alan as the other newcomer, or if Shaxy can take the reverse win. We'll be right back. This is the last match of the day here for Asia Pacific before we send you over to Europe with Raven and Sottle. And then Americas to round out the day as per usual with TJ and Dan. Had a pretty cool last game there with the Rogue versus the Demon Hunter. Not the way that matchup, I think it's fair to say, will often pan out. But a pretty big win for TIZS there. The Demon Hunter, I think, is expected to be taking a win at some point for Shaxy. But, you know, it can falter. We're seeing here that even if the idea is strong of Demon Hunter, the actual execution, I often find, is perhaps a little bit lacking in power overall in the deck.
It gets shaky for sure. I actually question whether Magtheridon should be in the list. It just seems like every time we see Demon Hunter, it hardly ever gets played early enough that it's impactful, or when it does get played, it feels like you would have rather had more all-in damage instead of a later on board clear instead. And I find that the 12/12 body, by the time it comes down, is very easily answered either by freezes or bounce effects.
Yeah, I agree with you, actually. I think I, weirdly enough, just saw a list on Twitter with someone running a version, I think it was a Ballistic, of a version that didn't run Magtheridon, which I actually like the look of a lot, with a bit of extra draw thrown in there as well. But it is going to have to go up again at some point for Shaxy. But for now, at least, it's going to be a Tempo Mage Mirror. One of the craziest, but also one of my favorite mirrors to play at the moment in Hearthstone.
Very fun indeed. TIZS starting on the play. I feel like the player on the coin does have, in general, a leg up here, but you can't underestimate being the first one to get on board with a lab partner. Allows you to dictate trades and possibly get down an early cram session.
Yeah, Primordial Studies being kept in the mulligan is not something you always see at all, but it works out beautifully for Shaxy with a double cram session starting hand. This is kind of the dream. This is always what you're looking forward to, looking to do in pretty much every mage matchup.
Shaxy has the draw, but he doesn't have the initiative, and TIZS has all the initiative in the world without the draw, strangely enough. Like, he essentially has 4 spell damage minions with his own Primordial Studies.
I will crush your delusions of grandeur.
So, assuming that the missiles doesn't get rid of both of the minions, I mean, he'll never coin out hero power here, right?
Whoa.
Then TIZS
No.
still has a chance to go for cram session.
Yeah, it's especially going to be the case with, obviously, the Flame Brand being picked up. Holding back again. Okay, fair enough.
Okay, so if you start with studies, you can play Dalaran Mage.
I don't know if I want to play Dalaran Mage,
yeah,
but yes,
I mean,
you can.
It's just the thing that, like, it's tough to optimize your mana this turn because you do want to get down Lab Partner and Primordial Studies.
I mean, it's kind of more complicated than that, right? Because if you go Lab Partner first, you can pick Steward of Scrolls and play it next turn.
Right.
Is, I think, what I would look at most heavily there. So I think I would have actually liked to have seen the Primordial Studies come down.
I mean, that's the thing, right? You can go for that immediate, either immediate spell damage minion that turn, or whether you would take the risk to give yourself possibly a cheaper Steward. In the end, TIZS decides to just spend his mana on King, which I do not like, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think it's just not really playing out your cards enough. This is what I talk about with the deck. There's the potential, of course, to get the Mana Cyclone off the top, but then you already have 2 spells to go along with it. Are you then going to delay another turn so you can play all 3 spells with the Mana Cyclone on turn 5? Like, I feel like we're getting way too deep down the line there. Does, however,
Shaxy's
of course,
gonna get extreme draw this turn with Lab Partner. Is that Malagos in his background? I couldn't catch the face, but it'd be pretty cool if he was visiting.
Oh, it's in the player. I thought you meant the dragon for a second.
Oh, sorry,
like,
yeah, Malagos TW.
I doubt it, Gia.
Sure.
It's possible, I guess, but if you're seeing the blue dragon in Hearthstone broadcast, I think we need to talk. Well, it's the kind of hand that's really almost there. Now you obviously do want the Steward of Scrolls to get any kind of a spell, because this really, really needs Mana Giant into Conjurer's Calling, or nothing else is happening here.
TIZS just playing out the Shenvala for tempo, expecting Shaxy to devote at least a few resources into dealing with it, and so TIZS is just trying to bank on Mana Giant surviving after it gets played next turn, which is a very hopeful line, but it's the only he's got right now.
Few ways to go about this. There's obviously no real pop-off with Shenvala quite yet, but you want to work in the cram session wherever possible here.
This is nuts.
Yeah,
One
it's
mana draw
insane.
for...
Oh, the other apprentice as well. Oh, Giant Conjurer's Calling. Okay, it's all happening now.
Treasure? Loot? What more can you ask for?
Oh. I mean, Raz, you can ask for that as well. That on its own is absolutely filthy.
I mean, this cram session just looks so sad compared to what Shaxy did.
It really does.
There's his lifeline.
Oh! He doesn't want a cram session first. I guess figuring the ping is too important, which I understand.
Gotta get rid of the apprentice.
Just play that. We want to play our cards here with Mana Giant and Conjurer's Calling.
Yeah, it's just like a bit awkward because you're gonna play Prime next turn, almost certainly, and you're gonna spend the ping, so you're kind of floating one mana. But it's like the same, right? You either float on not playing the studies, or you're in.
Yeah, and I think it's worth it for the potential of hitting Lab Partner and then just throwing it down for another mana discounted off the Giant.
Ooh.
So clearly a few different ways to go about this. Raz straight up looks super strong here.
True mastery takes dedication.
But there was an argument for preemptive Mana Giant that I wouldn't have laughed at.
This is just so powerful. And it's asking a lot of the Prime to clean it up, but Blizzard plus something in the right order.
Good. Very good. Okay. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's
we'll
good.
take that.
He picked the dragon earlier as well, so it discovers him a spell, which gets a fireball.
Wrong one, frozen. Okay.
Oh.
Huge that he hits that last minute clear, guaranteed on the Raz.
I mean, that was disgusting. That was an absolutely filthy Solarian Prime. Did everything you could need it to do.
Wait a sec.
Just fireball, right?
Fireballs?
Missiles,
Yeah?
fireball, with an Azure Explorer?
And with that Ray of Frost, so if Shaxy like develops Giant Cistern, this just says, I'm playing Freeze Mage now.
Oh my lord. Okay, so if you go spell damage, spell power, sorry, so play the Lab Partner, Frostbolt, Lab Partner, Firebrand, Frostbolt doesn't quite clear.
Nothing really
one
cuts
off.
it. He just doesn't have enough spells.
Right.
But he does have to freeze the Solarian Prime.
Yeah.
Could very well be like Mana Giant with the Lab Partner Frostbolt.
Yeah, he's going with the line I was thinking of here. It freezes it if nothing else, and if you're lucky, it will clear it off here.
Most likely outcome. So, is there a way to set up guaranteed 2-turn? I don't think so, because you can't make sure that the missiles go all face. So, freeze this, get the Giant down. Looks very powerful.
Yeah, like, he's looking for a way to get down Giant and Conjurer's Calling, I suppose, but he seems to be happy spending his mana on other things here.
Yeah. I'm surprised to see the One Thief. I thought it was going to be Conj the Solarian plus Giant instead of One Thief.
Yeah, this actually feels a little suboptimal for me. He just missed out on playing an 8/8 here.
Feels very suboptimal to me.
Yeah.
And probably just ping, yeah. I mean, not to say that TIZS isn't winning, he is
Right.
far in the driver's seat, but Shaxy now has Giant Conj,
I mean,
Walking Fountain.
to be fair to him, he doesn't have much reload, and if Solarian Prime comes down, Mana Giant plus Conjurer's Calling is like the winning play. It's super big if he gets that down. So I really don't want to call it a strict misplay. It's just a very reserved line, which, due to the double fireball in hand, you know, is a line you can explore. He only needs a tiny bit of damage to be able to get over the finish line.
Oh!
Oh!
Evocation. This is very likely going to be a 0-mana giant. Potion?
Wait, what?
There's a Potion of Illusion in hand.
Potion, so he can go missiles,
Okay.
potion, play it again. Almost.
Only not enough space and mana to work with everything.
Yeah, I mean,
Gonna go for the Giant Conj. Good chance of hitting taunts or rush.
whoa!
Oh!
Whoa!
The actual Walking Fountain happened. I gotta stop calling these things, Derek.
And now, okay, Raz plus Azure Explorer is a 3 damage AoE and then he dies?
Correct?
That doesn't sound very
even
good.
summons a 6/6 for Shaxy.
That's true. Oh no, these missiles! Don't go face, don't go face! Okay.
Just searching for Blizzard here, very
2
respectable.
boxes! 2 puzzle boxes! He's got to just go for it.
Fountains for TIZS. Fountains for everyone. Troublemaker, if you ping the fountain, sometimes you get lucky.
Fountains for
Yeah?
TIZS, my least favorite sequel to Flowers for Algernon.
Cry.
Yeah, that's not
Nope.
doing it. TIZS is dead. It was a weird way to close things out there because, as we were saying, the reserved line to hold back the Giant, it had some merit in the case of needing to refill the board, but I think you and I can both agree there. The average outcome is more is better. Just get more stuff on the board, close out the game, because if he'd had a Giant on board there and hadn't been forced to play the mana on it there and could have even value traded before he played the Conjurer's Calling, I think that was much more salvageable.
Yes, indeed. Man, we've just so many crazy games today, and it's just flooring to me that I'm floored that the only extremely unlucky outcome did not even involve a box today. It was the Soulfires. Just
That is
imagine
true.
that.
Yeah, we've been spared the boxes for today, at least for the most part. It's really been the Solarian Primes that are still coming through very, very strong, which is, I mean, that's what a lot of people tout the deck as. There's quite a few ways to generate extra Solarians, and then you draw them from your deck, and people say, you know, I don't know how you win with the deck. All it does is draw Solarian Prime. It's not true. That, you know, I think the deck does many, many more powerful things, or alternate powerful things, I should say. But you know, Solarian Prime is very often the best thing you can do. It's just such a disgusting card.
And we do move on to the third game of the series now. TIZS already having queued up his Priest. This is one of the Highlander priests that people are running, but because he has committed to banning out Warrior as a consistent strategy, I would say, no Ooze to be found in there and no Kobold Sticky Finger. A bit heavier on the value package. And I think decently positioned against Shaxy's Rogue. The Demon Hunter, I'm still back and forth on who's actually favored in that matchup.
In terms of Demon Hunter versus Priest,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, that's an interesting one, because obviously against Warrior, Weapon Destruction is absolutely insane as Priest. Against Demon Hunter, it gets a little bit more complicated, because like if you destroy a 4/1 Marrow Slicer, it's good. You know, it's a decent play, but it's not game-winning in the same way that it is against Warrior, where their entire game plan revolves around Wrench Calibers. So I could definitely see that going either way.
We will start off with the Rogue matchup, though. And TIZ's opener is looking pretty spicy already.
I think with Soul Mirror and Mirazon in hand, I'm liking the look of a Wild Growth for this game.
Absolutely.
You don't pick the ones.
Wow!
Okay.
Deviating away. Interesting.
I mean, obviously, it's not like you can delay Zephyrus and it'll still give you Wild Growth played on turn 3 with 1 mana left, I think it leaves the pool of options. I'm very surprised, honestly. This hand looked very, you know, it synergizes well with the ramp.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think there's definitely arguments to be made for holding back to answer a huge Edwin, a huge questing, especially when your opponent is on the coin. But even if you have to tank like 10 damage from an Edwin for 1 hit or a questing adventure, going Zephyrus, Wild Growth, and getting to a Soul Mirror so much sooner does generally answer that pretty cleanly.
Mummy needs 5 more.
Speaking of questings and Edwins, the first one enters Shaxy's hand, but it's not particularly good this turn because you kind of want to like coin prep and play the dirty tricks with questing, but then you'd be coining into just 1 thief. Actually, it was decent there, right? And at the very least, he could end on a 4-4, but 4-4 is a size where it gets eaten up by potential apotheosis.
Oi, oi, oi. Okay, now we're getting to some spicy hands. I guess Jandis first makes sense, just to kind of test the waters before you go in with a huge questing, but the value alongside that's being generated from this questing is pretty disgusting.
So many options.
Definitely like the look of Jandis. He can even take the buff from the Grandmummy on something.
True.
What makes something real?
Whoa, Infiltrators and Dalaran Crusade. These are both so strong.
Yeah, that's premium minions on both sides for Shaxy.
And the illusion, I'd have to imagine, is the Divine Shield one, because it's going to take 2 procs to get up.
I mean, you are kind of running into the fear of the Infiltrator being stolen, more likely, because it would just take any spell plus the Cabal Acolyte, but even then, that's only a 1 out of 3.
And he did hit the perfect buff.
Yes.
So it's now outside of the range of Cabal Acolyte. However, Zephyrus Shadow Madness is a possibility here.
Right.
Is can take the trade.
So you take the preemptive trade, see what happens, I guess, because if it just dies, then you carry on with something else quite happily.
Yeah, probably death the 5-4.
Yep.
But I'm almost certain Shaxy put the illusion on the 5-4, so you could
like
see the Shadow Madness. And it's still a 50-50 to have this Infiltrator kill off the 5-4.
Does Zephyrus even offer it here? Like, is it not offering...
I'm pretty sure it does.
Okay, okay. I'm almost wondering if it gives the Lightning Storm or something weird instead here.
Your wish is my suggestion.
Well, I might have to eat my words, Sarah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
He pulled through. He pulled through. All things said, though, this is not an especially good use for Zephyrus. Even if you hit it here, it's pretty good. But considering how insane Zephyrus can be, I don't know if this is exactly what TIZS had in mind. Like, it answered 1 card from his opponent.
Well, it does put TIZS very much ahead on the board. Shaxy can go questing and then prep passage and go from there, but he's only working with 2 mana. Sorry, it's probably like prep dirty trick.
Yeah.
Give me a quest.
And then dagger, just so he can get rid of the Wiggle Well.
See, if you stop there, you're not dying to Shadow of Death, obviously, but there's just a Zephyrus on the board. It really only needs a tiny bit of help to kill it off. Oh no, wait.
You are drawing Shadow of Death, assuming that the Grandmummy trades. But I mean, it's not a big deal, right? I think whether or not it was there, like, it's not a great turn. You made the point, like, Zephyrus just needs 1 more attack to kill the questing.
I think this is correct. I mean, even with the possibility that he could have, like, traded in with the Mummy first to get a 4-4, that doesn't sound worth it to me. I'd rather take more stats and soak up a death. Oh, that's pretty good.
Okay. I mean, it's kind of like card draw for Priest in the fact that Priest tends to just need to hit 1 perfect card to answer a board. and then go from there.
Absolutely. I mean, even just turn 10, if you throw that down and play Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, that's like a super powerful play.
True. 1/1 stay in your hand. Okay. This certainly feels like a passage for Shaxy.
Yeah.
The question of whether you prep
So
it
many
first.
options.
Might as well take the full 6 mana. Okay, never mind. Looking for a way to deal with Hanar from the 1 thief.
I mean, this is still very possibly a passage turn, right? He could have gone 1 thief first, he decides against it in the end. Either way, you're really looking for an Edwin here.
You'll take a stunner.
Probably Miscreant as well.
Yeah, start with Miscreant. And then, depending on what lackeys you get, there's a small argument sometimes for playing lackey immediately, but might as well just play the stunner because it's getting shuffled back.
Yeah.
Mage Scribe.
Yep, Mage Scribe's a lot of value. I definitely like the look of that one. Those are good lackeys. Draconic and Ethereal, definitely the two that you're looking for here.
We are approaching the territory where TIZS just has powerful play after powerful play. Not a single point of damage has scratched him so far.
Oh, this is going to be close. I think Shaxy, if he gets good outcomes here, has what it takes to go the distance.
But look at the value from these options. Initiation or Mass Res. Probably Initiation just so you have a play this turn.
Yeah, it's not great, but it's something.
Summon a Miscreant.
Yeah. But like on Shaxy's side, if he can get off the font of power, you know, Antonidas, Kalagos, anything big, and he very possibly is looking at a strong value route. Even Renew, it's more value.
And the Mage Scribe can also generate him like Potion of Illusion.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that would be a huge one. Okay. Sprint is not the worst card ever.
And neither is the Plague of Madness. Sometimes it just
Yeah.
lets you chew through a Priest Taunt minion.
I mean, it's pretty clear at the moment that his game plan has shifted drastically from I really hope this Edwin or questing sticks to value. He's just going to try and outlast the priest removal for the moment.
And you don't always get to see this game plan from Rogue. Like, for example, Don's game a while ago,
Yeah.
if he had the option to transition to something like this, he absolutely would have. But Surrender's game, he did have the option to do so. And quite early on, I think, played for that out. And, you know, Shaxy, this is the madman who wanted to go for the goblet last season off of
so true.
Togwaggle to try and outvalue Priest. So he definitely has a plan in mind to take this to the long game.
This is a very Shaxy kind of game. This is where I think he can pull a win out of the bag where few other players could. So it's a decent Murozond in terms of value, especially depending where that hits, which is pretty decent. It does, however, leave quite a lot of damage on the board, and this is where Shaxy's game plan starts to pay off. Sorry, it's just putting enough stuff on the board each turn, removing his opponent's minions, and then chipping away turn after turn, 4, 5, 6 damage at a time.
In these spots, if you are able to overdraw TIZS or like make him discard the Murozond because it gets tapped back into a full hand, that would be insane. But strangely enough, the Rogue has even more cards in hand than Priest.
I mean,
so instead you look to just removing everything the old-fashioned way. Vendetta was looking pretty premium to me here.
it was looking
But that's
good.
just a scheme.
Like, so much value here. Again, it's getting ridiculous here with Togwaggle's scheme. I mean, the main thing he needs to start being afraid of is like Elusha, and then his value being ruined somehow by TIZS playing it out.
Too soon. Don't let the door hit you.
Didn't even think of that. Okay. Well, looks like he's just gonna get rid of the Murozond with Plague Knife.
Yep.
Gonna lose his 4-5 on the backswing, but I think he'll take that kill.
I think this is a great way to go about it. It's what I was talking about. You play just enough, You keep tickling them every turn, and then eventually it'll get them. I think there I did actually kind of like the sap at that point. I think he's got plenty of value for the moment, and he needs to make sure he's keeping up on tempo and not just dying to the big swings from TIZS.
Could be. Priest also don't tend to give you a lot from Plagiarize. Maybe like 2 to 3 cards.
I must consider.
So, secrets that TIZS is worried about, obviously Counterspell, because if he can't think of anything better, then the level 1 play would just be Rip the Plague of Death.
Yeah.
Now he knows it's not Mirror Entity, and he can just words on this.
Yep, Dagger can take out the 4-drop that comes off Netherwind. Oh, that's a
part of
good
it.
one.
Yeah, that's huge for Shaxy.
Wow.
Like, there was ever so slightly the worry that Shaxy's health total was getting in a danger zone. Especially against, well, he's seen Zephyrus already, but Ray's dead into Zephyrus or some out like that.
Oh man, I mean, there must be a way you can pull this off. Like, he could have gone... Trade a couple of guys into the Cabal Acolyte, initiation it, and then play Font of Power to steal the 1-2 as well. Looked kind of clean to me.
Clean, but I feel like you're spending a lot of mana to accomplish not very much on the board. Stealing a 1-2 doesn't feel worth it to me. I'm on board with the Secret Train.
Okay, sure. I mean, he could even Togwaggle scheme his Hanar back into the deck if he wants for like even more value train. It's one of the better minions to shuffle in.
You do just like save a secret at the end of it every turn and then keep going off. But oh my goodness, Antonidas! That could make this game end a lot sooner than it had any right to.
Tony Togwaggle? That sounds good to me.
Yep. Tony Tog, the sequel to Tony Nova.
I mean, it sounds more like a show I saw on CBeebies. Story time with Tony Togwaggle. Ooh. Wait, how does that interaction even work with Elucia and...
Passage? I'm not sure.
I have no idea.
Okay, well, he's probably just gonna steal that Amet now. And put the Apotheosis on his sidekick because he's dying.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you just don't play Elucia. Like, you'd probably swap hands and then, like, give all your cards back to the rogue at the end of the turn, which sounds awful. What? How does this work?
We're gonna find out. I mean, you can still deal with the Amet with his dagger, but he's leaving up Hanar. Also, there's 2 Paladin secrets still, and the rope is burning. Is that redemption? It is redemption. Did he kill the Ahmed? Although at this point, at 1 HP, it's kind of a liability anyway.
So, all the cards don't return to the rogue hand here? No, they do! He's going to give all his cards to Shaxy! He's just deleted his own hand, right?
Yeah!
But there's an Elucia on the other side that was generated from...
The something. I'm losing my mind there.
Do you play out cards and then play another Elucia? Because otherwise TIZS can play Elucia and get back the good hand, which is Shaxy's hand right now, even though it's full of TIZS's cards.
No, I don't think you do that, because if they spend Elucia, then their best play is just like Soul Mirror. They don't get to dump very much, honestly. I like taking the Tiamat Apotheosis combo from TIZS. That is super huge.
Am I missing something right now? Like, I've never seen that before, but it worked the way I thought it was going to work. I kind of, like, you can maneuver that one, and it just looks awful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame TIZS if he's never seen the interaction before, or if he just got tripped up in the moment, because it's extremely confusing.
It's extremely confusing, but it still is just terrible.
Yeah. I also don't know why Shaxy didn't play TIZS's Apotheosis.
because now it's swap back and play
Soul Mirror.
Soul Mirror,
Yeah.
which he knows to be in hand, of course.
Okay. That's the only out.
That's all I'm seeing. Outside of course, Secret Passage again, and try and find answers from his own deck.
Yeah, there's the one plague. Oh no, it's in
No, there's
Shaxy's
not!
hand.
It's in Shaxy's hand!
Oh my god. So it is just the Soul Mirror now, unless he thinks this Alexstrasza can generate Deathwing.
My mind has been
It
rendered.
seems to be very fond of throwing away cards, you know?
I am a rendered brainer now.
Quickly.
I mean, my mind's been played, it's been rendered, it's been controlled. What other priest? It's been gamesed. What other priest cards are there?
I mean, he's just giving him Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, though. You play it and play out the dragon.
Yeah,
Or
I mean,
like,
obviously,
whatever.
this doesn't work out in the long term. All it's doing is delaying his demise, and just kind of take those on the off chance that Shaxy does something very, very unexpected.
So you can steal if you want to and play Apotheosis, which is decent, because denying Apo from your opponent is a big deal here.
Sure.
Life and hope of
Or you can just play out the Alexstrasza.
Mm-hmm.
It did generate Deathwing!
Oh my god!
And if he doesn't
Hello?
play it, he gives it back!
Yeah!
Oh!
But
What?
no, it's fine, it's fine. Shaxy's fine. Like, he just goes, like, Kalagos, Apo, dump stuff, whatever, go face. TIZS' best response is Deathwing. Fine, then...
Okay.
Wait.
And then you
Then
Shadow
he
Word
ends
Death.
up with the Shadow Word Death that you get back.
Okay.
No need to panic. It was
I
funny.
freaked out.
Wait.
Oh no, wait, he can destroy his own hand! It's the best! He destroys TIZS'
Oh,
hand!
yeah,
He has nothing!
Yeah, right. That's
That's
insane.
the dream!
Oh my god. Hello.
I mean, what on earth was this game, Gia?
It was a game of Hearthstone that I have to watch back many times to completely let it sink in. But great spot at the end there from Shaxy.
I mean, come on, Shaxy.
Super cool.
Be a good sport. Shadow Step the Deathwing. Come on, it's the only reasonable line that you can make here.
I want to see the hug.
You have best.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of nonsense going on all around there. Obviously, TIZS with his weird Mind Render Elucia secret passage turn that was clearly incorrect. Sottle now shouting at us for missing the Deathwing line, which, yes, obviously that was the play to go for there, to discard your opponent's entire hand. Obviously, Shaxy spotted it and demonstrated exactly how Shaxy works in those kind of games. This is his bread and butter, these weird, super long control games that he just always seems to come out on top of.
We can all just shout at each other for all these Elucia turns. It's just really tough as a caster, but it's alright. Shaxy spotted it. That was insane. The flashiest way I've ever seen that matchup come to a resolution, and that does put Shaxy well and truly in the lead.
It does. Final deck remaining for him being the Demon Hunter, I believe, taking a loss against the Rogue earlier on and up against, what, Priest and Mage? I like his shots, to be honest. The Priest is a close matchup. You know, if you can develop onto the board as the Priest at the start, the Demon Hunter can really struggle with capitalizing on the damage to the face because they have to clear off the board. Whereas the Mage, on the other hand, you know, we've seen players play really weird in the Mage versus Demon Hunter because of how miserable of a matchup they know it to be.
Yes, it can get to the point where you just kind of scrounge together ways to generate ice barriers, and notably Mirror Image is pretty significant in that matchup as well, but definitely not unwinnable.
The light shall bring victory.
Not indeed.
Will be the Priest up first, though. Nothing unusual from the mulligan that I'm seeing. But TIZS does end up with a relatively slow hand.
Yeah, this is like, when I was playing the Highlander variant in particular, the real way that I found that I was in a good spot against Demon Hunter was just by tempoing out at the start. You want to make it really tough for them to ignore your board, because at any point you are threatening Apotheosis. You don't actually have to have it most of the time, you just have to be threatening it. And all of a sudden the Demon Hunter will spend all of their removal, all of their damage, clearing off your board rather than killing you.
Right, and a big part of that is shown by how TIZS is very willing to play out the Sethic per tempo.
Yeah.
This is not a matchup where you want to save Sethic for the big chain of spells and eke out the value. You're staying ahead on board for as long as possible.
I mean, I'm thinking just a fairly clear, just clear the board here. Like, you don't have to start going with Mana Feeder Panthera quite yet. Because it can just be value traded here, whereas I'd rather kind of like get that down as a threat at some point later on.
I could have potentially done both with a Coin Twin Slice, but Coin is super valuable in this deck, I tend to find. It just smooths out a lot with getting down Skull early. And there is still potential to deal with the cards later on with either his Cane or the Twin Slice this turn, or even the Shadow Shark. Or, better yet, actually, is this a Magtheridon line, potentially?
What can go wrong against Priest? Is there any way that they can transform or remove the 1/3s?
They can buff it. I don't think they can transform.
I mean, I don't think it's so much that something could go wrong with Magtheridon there, so much as it's just not that good quite yet. Like, I'd rather spend my mana on equipping the weapon and hitting my opponent, and then if they develop a big board, then you just go with Magtheridon plus the Shard Shatter on 7.
Very fair. The value of a tempo 12/12 on board is much less against Priest compared to, say, playing that against Druid. So
yeah.
Holding on to Magtheridon with the Shard Shatter later on. And going for one Shard Shatter here obviously shows you that Shaxy is starting to respect Apotheosis, because otherwise you would just jam the Lapidary and swing everything face.
Ooh, that double jump is pretty interesting, because I believe that the only Outcast card is Skull of Gul'dan in this deck. And so on the following turn, Coin double jump Skull of Gul'dan is a possibility to just turbo cycle here.
True, Shaxy's not running the Spectral Sight in this list as some other lists do.
Okay, that's another Soul Shard, so I guess getting those down the Lapidary while you can makes sense.
Yeah, he's in no rush to play the Skull. Like, the double jump into Skull will be available for pretty much any turn following from here.
The future is clear. Your demise be near.
Twin Slice? Because it's
yeah, Twin Slice just
Cabal
because
Acolyte
it's
somewhat.
cheap. Yeah. Not really seeing the value of Magtheridon quite yet.
Yeah, neither is Cane gonna particularly helpful. This deck does not have taunts from Shaxy, and TIZS is, I'd have to assume, not interested in trying to ship damage face.
I mean, I think
so in
Cane...
terms of removal tools, the Twin Slice is a bit more flexible.
It is more flexible, but you have to tank the damage. That's the big difference, right? Cane can just be used as a rush minion to clear off something from the board. Whereas you really want to, I think, at this point, you know, you haven't won board in the early game, so you want to mitigate every point of damage that you can.
Close.
Yeah. It really is.
I think it's not even that much of a stretch to imagine that you're gonna steal other things from Shaxy in the near future, and Twin Slice synergizes with a lot of them.
That's fair.
So that's
fair,
another upside.
Oh, boy. A lot of damage coming through now with a Lapidary as well. I think that's the last Soul Fragment, but obviously Soulshare can now remedy that very, very easily.
Like, Shaxy played a pseudo full tilt and just put all of the good cards at the top of his deck. Double jump, gonna pull out the Skull.
Okay, that's an interesting card now with Zephrys. All of a sudden, the trump card is in play It's just how he gets to the point where he makes it as impactful as possible. Is it going to be Healing Touch? Is it going to be a threatening card? Maybe it's just like Tyrion later on in the game to try and actually swing things around.
Imagine Tyrion would be at the top of TIZ's priority list before he's seen Kayn. After Kayn comes down, if he's not dead yet, then Tyrion just goes miles up in value. Okay, I think it's time to get the skull now.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Spend your mana on the proactively good stuff. Like, Magtheridon was, in a way, tempting there, because if they have to spend their turn clearing it off, it just clears the way for you to go in very nicely on the following turn.
Pretty big deal that he doesn't get the discount on the Eldrazi Warblades, but he can just use this mana feeder to cycle with hero power right now. And even if it does potentially get stolen, he has a clear with the Eldrazi Twin Sides Blade Dance on the next turn.
Yeah, it looked pretty clean to me. I like spending the mana while you can.
Okay.
A simple spell.
I mean, TIZS could have just gotten a skull for himself with the Murazon, but probably looking to a bit more instead here.
Interesting. I mean, TIZS could also have just played out the Dragon Queen Alexstrasza there. He ends up, however, though, generating Renew into Radiance or Apotheosis, both of which are absolutely insane. But he does go with
The
Radiance.
Apo right now is less healing if you consider that the Cabal is likely to be removed the turn after, because Radiance plus hero power fits in an extra 2 HP.
Yeah, he's clearly scared of Magtheridon. I think that's what the last couple of plays have been about. Like, he didn't go Alexstrasza because he was afraid of a big board clear. He didn't play out the Apotheosis because he was afraid of it being cleared up. It's all with direction, even if it's not necessarily a cut and dry play.
Yeah, it's been very patient with this for sure.
Yeah.
Ooh. Shaxy could put together an incredible burst turn in the near future.
I think that's what it's all about. And weirdly enough, there's no real answer to this outside of the Zephrys, which is really not what the situation you want to be in as TIZS.
Yeah, not ideal to have to use Zephrys for anything other than healing, but he does net himself a very solid board state. However, Shaxy's held on to Blade Dance all this time, and imagine this is the turn to let her rip.
Yeah, there's the play of Second Slice, Glaives, Skull, and then, yeah, you can still fit in with the 0 mana Blade Dance plus a hero power afterwards.
Yeah, you can coin hero power or potentially play something off the top from Skull discounts.
I like it.
Like this Chaos Strike.
Yeah, super clean.
Super powerful. Cheapen Glaive Bound as well.
Oh my god, how much burst is that next turn? That's 8, 10, 12, 14, 6, like, so much damage that he can throw down next turn. It's just straight up lethal, I think, unless a heal comes down.
You think this is your time? It is mine.
But it's a big deal, though. It's a nice big swing on the other side, because he will equip the weapon buffs and the Eldrazi Warblades and find a Renew. He can more than get out of range on this turn.
This is what TIZS was saving Murazon for, I'd have to assume.
Oh.
Just a big swing with the Eldrazi.
You just go Renew second slice.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Job's done.
And it does start to beg the...
to nearly full.
Yeah. It begs the question from Shaxy as well, because I think in this situation, you know, it was nice to activate the skull for sure, but the Eldrazi Warblades being able to be stolen is very, very scary on the other side. This is what you don't want to combo for Murazond on the other side.
Yeah, there was an argument for just pushing damage without having equipped the Eldrazi, but then you could not have gotten the skull in outcast position. It's really tough to optimize. And now it feels like he can't afford to respect Apotheosis anymore. Otherwise, you know, if you sink 8 damage into them, you just don't have enough damage to kill Anduin himself.
And that's definitely the situation we're ending up in. He can go for Sociologist, Coin, Glavebound, or it could be Glavebound Mana Burn on this turn instead if he wants to shut out like the Plague of Death as an available clear.
I mean, he was pointing at Murazon, so I feel like it might even be like the Hero Power, the Murazon Sociologist one trade. But he goes with the Glavebound instead. This is still quite a lot of pressure. And TIZS can easily clear with Soul Mirror if he feels it's that desperate. I personally like the look of Alex plus Wave of Apathy.
He's got so much health, doesn't he? Like 3 extra damage at this point really doesn't matter. He wants to start threatening counter-lethal, really.
Yep.
Which 2-mana Glavebound does a pretty good job of.
I mean, there's Soul Mirror, attack the 1/3, and play Glavebound afterward.
True. That's not bad. I think most of all, I did definitely like your thinking of getting down the Alexstrasza on this turn, because it wouldn't have overdrawn either, I don't believe.
Quickly.
At this point, TIZZ's mindset, I think, is pretty clearly at not so much trying to race Shaxy, but just completely run him dry of damage, which you can realistically do as Priest, especially with as big of a heal that TIZZ got off of his Murazon. So I don't fault him for going for this line, which is slower, but quite possibly closer to 100% than trying to put down your own Alexstrasza.
Yeah, I agree with you. I still think that going for the Alexstrasza line probably would have resulted in a win, and I think maybe quicker, but it doesn't matter. If you get a win, you get a win. The thing is just that, like, at 29 health with Marrow Slicer, Lapidary, Glavebound, Twin Slices, Chaos Strikes, all of this is gone. TIZZ has just healed for too much.
You can easily math this out if you have perfect information, which TIZZ should have because deck trackers are allowed for the Grandmasters to use. Then he knows that between the healing he still has left and all of the removals for any of Shaxy's board states, then TIZZ can simply run the Demon Hunter dry.
Seems to be the game plan. Plague of Death, super clean. If that's even warranted. I mean, there's just a line with, Breath and Glavebound, Rush, like so many ways that you can go for this here.
Yeah, that other line allows you to fit in Hero Power.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mana Burn means Plague of Death isn't even playable, but like I said, so many ways to go about it.
Potentially a Pyro line too, like Breath with the Pyro, and then you can heal the Pyro. Or rather, probably just rush it. After one more spell.
Heal, Raise Dead, Rush, or just go for the Rush, like however you want to do it.
Yeah, just Rush. And then the Broodstick clears as well. Sure, it's in the Hero Power. Extremely disciplined play from TIZZ. But he knows Shaxy is just out of damage.
Yeah, he's just been exhausted 100% here. The damage here is, what, 8, 12, 15, 16. Like, if you hero power like 5 times, then you're getting close. But that's assuming no heal whatsoever from TIZZ on the other side. Even the hero power and just weapon alone, I think, gets him well out of range.
When Shaxy's out of cards, it's quite simple that the Priest hero power deals more than the Demon Hunter hero power can deal damage. So now for TIZZ, it could be like a very mana inefficient turn, but I wouldn't hate it if we just saw like attack phase, hero power phase, Glavebound the Cane. Call it a day. Does he need to take this 3? I mean, he can math it out, right? From the cards left in the deck.
Yeah. There are obviously good cards to hit on Raise Dead, but I do question if it's even worth it to go for at this point. He's just so far in the lead.
Sure. This line with the Wave of Apathy has... Or the Rodness Drake, okay.
Yeah, nutty. Thinking, do I die? Do I die? Is there any way that he can kill me whatsoever?
Double check, triple check.
probably worth holding on to it because, you know, Murazond can get him twin slices to buff up that health a little bit more, just in case that was necessary.
But with this attack, you can clearly see that it's not necessary. TIZS, I think, in those last few seconds of rope, even though it seemed completely unnecessary, was just trying to piece together a single way that Shaxy could pull this out.
And this is his best shot. Clears the board, another weapon in play. It's technically enough damage should he hit the Marrow Slicer to hit lethal in a few turns' time.
What more can I ask for?
True.
Which he misses anyway.
Well, the Murazond, if only it could play the battle cry from the horde, could get back.
Mm-hmm.
You think this is your time?
So likely to clear here, and in case it misses, you still have Blade Bound hero power to clear it off.
What more can I ask for?
I yield for now.
Yeah. Shaxy's just going to throw it down a long and winding road to get there for the lethal. But for TIZS, for the most part there, it felt like a much more solid game. You know, the way he approached the end game there was, I think, pretty much inconsequential at that point. Whether he goes for the more just play out the cards and kill them quickly, or purely fatigue them in the later stages, it was a one game already.
Very much the climax of the game happened during the first Murazond turn in response to that big skull play from Shaxy. After TIZS healed for that much, I think it was very unlikely for Shaxy to be able to put down enough damage to make it relevant. And that's all off the back of, like, I don't even know if we saw an Apotheosis come down that entire game, which is very impressive. I tend to think that Apotheosis is the priest's main way of getting back into the game, but you know, use of stealing the Eldraki Warblades is what gave TIZS the lasting power there. And now we hit the game 5 for the last series of the day. Shaxy on his last try with the Demon Hunter up against Tempo.
Yeah, 0-2 so far. It's the constant debate that I feel I'm having in my head, because part of me is saying Demon Hunter is so well placed in the current metagame. It does well against the Rogue, it does well against the Mage, as two of the most popular decks, and it kind of has a shot against nearly everything, I feel, if the cards come in the right order. But then the other part of me is agreeing with TJ and what he was saying in the America's Grandmasters last night, of it's just not strong enough. You know, it's so easy to waylay its game plan if they stick a single taunt in the way, if they stick any minion in the way, and you feel like you have to clear it. It's a complicated deck. The idea is there, but is the actual power level and the execution there? Has definitely been my question mark about the deck.
And I love that you bring up that question right as we saw Magtheridon in the opening hand. And we were talking about this before the series started, is like, does Magtheridon need to be in this list? Because I feel, and the players of course feel, that Demon Hunter is at least strong enough to be brought in GM as it is. If it's just lacking that little bit of refinement, maybe in the coming weeks as we see other decks get nerfed, we'll find a list that makes the deck finally feel well and truly powerful instead of just, this is my fourth deck.
Yep. Good start though for TIZS, undeniably getting a premium hand here. How you play it out is a little bit difficult. I imagine you just jam the cram session here, because going for Astromancer first very possibly walks into, you know, Twin Slice or Chaos Strike, being able to clear off both the minions in play.
Yeah, I like that. Take the extra draw while you can. And honestly, even if he doesn't go for a Solarian early, as long as he just gets down the Violet Spellwing and he picks up that other Wand Maker, he's just charged up for a very powerful Apprentice combo turn. We talk about this matchup quite a bit. Mana Giant being the key point for Mage to try and get down. Oh my goodness.
Okay, this hand is ramping up very, very quickly. Primordial is a good spell to get there. Obviously, I think the Evocation was what he was looking for in the absolute dream. But with double Cyclone Apprentice, there's many ways to get this Giant down right at the start. There's a real shot all of a sudden for TIZS to take this.
Indeed. For Shaxy, this could have been a Kayn turn, but if he just wants to preserve his Wand Maker as cleanly as possible, just gonna go for Hero Power and Soul Shear. charge up that Lapidary for the near future, and he already has Skull in outcast position, so a pretty good curve, all things considered, as well.
Right, let's go. You got the Frost, Ray of Frost, you got something to target it with. Let's throw it all down. Violet Warden is a taunt.
Ooh. Okay. 3 spells, 4, 5 spells played this turn. Hand space works out.
Mana works out. Maximum missiles as well. Very, very clean. Giant next turn. It's coming together. Frostbolt.
Ooh.
That's pretty good. You will absolutely be happy with that. Even elemental allies with Cyclone and Giant. It's a nice combo.
I can't believe I oohed at the elemental allies and not the Frostbolt you saw it before I did. Yeah, it's a nice cherry on top is this side quest, but yeah, Frostbolt is absolutely the one that Shaxy will be most stressed out to see.
I grow impatient.
It looked like a fairly clean Eldraki into Blade Dance here, but I guess Shaxy wants to get down the, I was going to say the mana feeder, but he can't even draw with it on this turn instead.
Yeah, I think he's just valuing it as a 2-3 body.
Okay.
I think it's completely fair. Just off the principle of, would you rather have a weapon on the board or a minion?
Now,
against empty board, I think you'd rather have a minion.
things get interesting here, right? Because just Giant on its own, you've seen a Blade Dance now, especially if you Frostbolt the 2-3 here. It's reasonable to assume the Giant sticks, but then again, you're Frostbolting a 2-3 against Demon Hunter. It's really tough because Giant just throwing it down here, it dies to Soul Shard, Lapidary plus Hero Power if you don't kill off the Panthera.
Yeah, I think that he can afford to wait one more turn, like say Combustion or even small Mana Cyclone to go along with this, because next turn you go Giant Punch and get the Elemental Ally side quest done.
I mean, this is a great spot as well. It keeps the Frostbolt, kills off the Panthera, and also gets down the Giant for a Conjurer's Calling.
Right, on 6 mana, the clears were like very limited, involved many slices, I suppose.
Oh yeah, right, that's a second slice. I was going to say that's a clear with Twin Slice, but it's just a little bit off. So Shaxy, I think, is just going to have to leave this up for the moment.
A scary proposition, but he can present a 5-5 this turn. He's going for charging up for a big swing next turn instead. Human Companion, not great.
And for TIZS here, I mean, this is just face Conjurer's Calling Frostbolt the face, right? Like, there's very little that the Demon Hunter can do after that point, especially with hulking Overfiend. I love it.
Frostbolt face. Don't get sidelined by the, you know, shiny side quest completion possible there. But yeah, this is like checkmate 100%.
If the it's Magtheridon Shard Shatter, right? That's the out on the other side.
That's true. In which case, they're even still not healing, so you could just be happy taking a Cone of Cold and redevelopment turn. But that's not even an option for Shaxy.
So the play then becomes trade in your... Okay, you can start with Demon Companion and hope to hit Refa. And then go for Shard Shatter afterwards, I suppose, if you do.
Not Shima. I do get a kick out of saying their names.
I know.
Time grows short.
Shaxy just trying to hide behind this taunt, perhaps. Hope he's not dead. Which, you know, to be fair, that might be his best out, because if you start sending damage into the hulking Overfiend, then you don't have your own win condition online anymore.
Oh, but the thing is, he only needs 1 damage now, right? The hulking Overfiend can attack twice here. But that's not it. Primordial, I guess you take the Mirror Image, because Mirror Image is busted against Demon Hunter, but unless you hit lethal on this turn, it's possible for Shaxy to wrestle this one back. He has the lifesteal weapon.
I think it's worth it to just rip a small Cyclone here to try and hit lethal. Oh, Loosen Bark. The Kane.
Job done.
Oh my lord. There's no burst damage whatsoever. It needs to be so impressive here for Shaxy, but he doesn't hit the Magtheridon. There's no entire clear on this board. Can he gain enough health in any way whilst clearing off some of it to survive?
Don't see it. Second Slice, Lapidary, but no Blade Dance to go alongside it. I think Shaxy has just gotten reverse swept.
Looks like it. I mean, he could go Shard Shatter and then Kane bypasses the taunt, so he could then kill the hulking Overfiend and I think gain enough health to survive the turn.
Okay. Yeah, Shard Shatter, Kane plus Glaive Bound.
Right. Or get the Glaive Bound down. Okay, okay, this is better. Get the Lapidary, heal up for as much as possible. He's alive. He's alive. Good spot.
Ooh.
Oh man, it's so close. You can freeze the board for multiple turns here. These minions are not attacking you anytime soon. Oh, and he gets the spells as well. That's huge.
I like prioritizing that spell wing to get the completion. Free little bit of cycle closer towards Magic Trick or Evocation to generate him that last bit of damage. No more soul fragments in the deck.
Oh, Magtheridon is not even... I mean, there's not even enough room to summon all the 1/3s here, even if you could kill them.
Demons. Demons.
I mean, he can hero power to heal up to 7, and he's, like, alive on board, but there's just not a winning line that I can see.
Marrow Slicer... Kane Sun Fury, no, you have to keep the lifesteal intact, yeah.
Doesn't.
Oi, oi, oi. So is there any way to guarantee yourself lethal here? If you like attack, and you go for Lab Partner plus Cone of Cold, like I get the feeling there's a way to 100% this.
It certainly feels like it, especially since like the Violet Spellwing trading off gives you more damage.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you start with the Cone of... Okay, never mind.
He now doesn't have mana to do it. Raz is 2 damage? I mean, he could have attacked first with the Batterhead and then attacked again.
Yeah, I think there was definitely a way to optimize this that is missed. Not
Definitely
that Shaxy has any way to punish. No more healing left.
No way to deliver lethal. Sociologist doesn't clear. Magtheridon can't clear.
So the alternative is just kill everything that you can.
Yeah.
And hope that TIZS doesn't have 2 damage. And that all of the missiles from the Spellwing miss.
I mean, technically at this point it's possible if TIZS gets the worst possible Primordial Studies, but I don't even think that's possible to miss that many times.
And it looks like he can't even kill every single minion
Oh,
on
yeah,
board.
yeah. Digging, scrabbling to find any way for Shaxy to survive this, but with just attack face, ping face, Raz Frost Whisper, that is finally going to be lights out for Shaxy. We were praising him for the Demon Hunter at the start. You and I were saying it was the Trump deck, the one he could rely on most to take a win at some point, but it goes 0-3 against TIZS, against a lineup which I've got to say it should have been in a good spot there.
I certainly thought this Demon Hunter was in a good spot in several games, and it didn't feel like it had any, draws. He was hitting the Lapidaries on curve, he was hitting Glaive Bounds, we've seen active Skulls. If I'm to fault Shaxy at any point, I think it was maybe that turn you pointed out of where he cashed in Aldraki and many Twin Slices on the same turn, which gave TIZS an opportunity for a huge heal off of Murazond. Although that's not to say that TIZS played completely perfectly. I think that end of the
Oh,
mage
yeah.
game was very sloppy.
I mean, end of the mage game was sloppy. Obviously, the secret passage Alusha was just terrible, to be honest. It's tough to analyze it properly because you've never seen that situation before. I mean, you and I were obviously messing up the Deathwing thing, so it's easy for us to sit in our ivory tower and look down at the players, but it's very, very complicated to pull all together. And I don't want to criticize TIZS too hard because I've liked, for the most part, what I've seen from him. Just making sure he's tidying up some of that technical play, and I think he could be in a very good spot if he keeps bringing these very strong lineups.
Yes, indeed. And that, I believe, wraps it up for the day. We've been through the gauntlet throughout today. Tons of full series of 5 matches. Even though it was the 4-match day for APAC, we had tons of Hearthstone action. I don't even know how much craziness we've seen today with the double Soulfire super low odds discards into some very, very cool mechanics, secret passage later on, and also even life stealing to save you even after you go below 0 health. It was a fun day, Dar.
Yeah, we learned a lot, and while my heart goes out to like Chonsu in particular for his pretty terrible luck that he got along the way there, I think there was an opportunity for a lot of players to find some improvements in their lines, which is what I always like to see. I think that it's cool when we see good lines a lot of the time, but still roads to improvements for a lot of our players. I think we can take a look at the standings now to see where our players shake out at the end of the day and at the end of our first week here in Asia Pacific. Most of the players having played twice now to get a good idea of where they stand. And only 2 players so far at a 2-0 scoreline, with Surrender and Alan being those 2.
And these are 2 players that we have definitely sung the praises of over and over again. Alan, we didn't expect him to end up in Division B, but he still definitely has a chance to shine within this lower half of players and still a chance to head to playoffs if he ends up in the top 4. Surrender at 2-0 in Division A, given that he's the most sadistic, brutal, evil, scheming, plotting player ever, according to Derek Brown.
Correct.
I guess that's no surprise.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great few weeks of Hearthstone to come. Once again, obviously, we are not doing Grandmasters next week because we have Masters Tour Montreal to come first. But that is no excuse to not watch. If anything, it's more of a reason to watch because you're going to get to see all of the Grandmasters who will be attending. They all get an automatic invite. And of course, it's being held online, so no excuses for our players to not come along and try and fight out for that pretty substantial prize pool. And also, of course, plenty of players trying to fight for that spot in Grandmasters. That is the way that you qualify through to this tournament, is being in the top money prize earners over the season of Masters Tour events for that year. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Nerfs are coming, changes in both the metagame and the players that you're going to be seeing. I can't wait, Gia.
I can't wait either. It's going to be a whole different meta, I would assume, in the coming. To say that this one was completely solved in and of itself. Lots of lineup differences in philosophy, whether people even think priest or warrior are good enough to bring. It could all be turned around on its head, and I, for one, really hope that Shaman can somehow re-enter the meta, but we'll see next week.
Well, we'll have to see. As I was saying, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel here so that you are notified when we go live with Masters Tour Montreal next week. And of course, all of the days of Grandmasters yet to come for this season. You can also go to playhearthstone.com/esports if you need any more information about how things work. If you want to try out maybe fighting for a spot yourself in one of the Masters Tours, have a go at some of the qualifiers. They're a lot of fun, and you can get yourself some nice tournament experience as well. We're going to end the day here for APAC with all 4 of our matches done, but it's not over yet for Grandmasters today. There's still Europe and Americas yet to come. So from Gia, myself, production, everyone, thank you so much for watching us this week. We will see you back next week with Masters Tour Montreal. But for now, enjoy Europe.